This video was sponsored by... I'm just kidding, there's no sponsor. But I will be showing you how to make an ingrain board with a pretty cool design. For this project, I'll be using spalted hackberry and walnut. First, you'll want to cut both boards down to a manageable size, cutting out any imperfections or holes. These ended up being 42 inches. After that, we're going to plane both boards down to the same dimension, which in this case was 1 inch. And from there, you're going to head over to your 1940s jointer. What? Doesn't every woodworker have a jointer from the 1940s? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, I'm only taking about an 1/8 inch off with each pass. Now when cutting on a table saw, make sure your blade is set higher than the thickness of the wood before turning it on. You do it the other way around and it might get a little bit sketchy. To make this specific design, I cut strips an 1/8 inch thick up to 1 1/8 inch, stepping up an 1/8 inch with each piece, making a total of 9 42 inch long pieces of each color or species. Whatever, you get the point. Now with your pieces cut, you're going to lay out the strips from smallest to largest in an alternating pattern. I happen to elevate mine so I can fit cawls perpendicular under it to keep it as flat as possible. And it helps keep them in order if you number each piece. You know, I pride myself in doing things the most inefficient way possible. Just get a roller. And 12 hours later, when it's ready to be unclamped, you just throw it in the floor. I promise no wood was harmed in the making of this video. When planing, it helps to use a sled for the first side. Once that's flat, flip it over and run it through without the sled. Square up one end by cutting the edge off. And this next measurement will determine the thickness of your board. I went with 1 1/4 inch thick. I had some length left over, so I probably could have got away with 1.5 inches. But there's a pretty cool website that can help you out with these numbers. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. And time for the flip. Congratulations, this is your design. Just line it up for the camera first. Who is this guy? Just painting it on like Picasso. You're getting there, buddy. There you go. Just dump it on there. Notice the wax paper under this glue up. This will prevent you from throwing your boards. You'll get even clamping pressure if you space your clamps out. Again, I have a caul in there for vertical pressure, keeping it flat. And if you're using Type Bond 3, which I recommend, the bottle says to hold for a minimum of 30 minutes. I usually keep it clamped overnight or during the course of the day and then come back to it. Now, I understand many of you may not have a CNC machine. I'm fortunate enough to have one, so I'm going to use it. But you can do the same function with a belt sander, orbital sander, drum sander. If you have a wide enough planer, you could run it through that as long as you have sharp blades. If you don't have sharp blades, well, you might have some chunks taken out of your board. And that's what we call tear out. Here I'm just filling any voids or cracks with the CA glue. Starboard is pretty convenient. You put the glue on, spray the accelerator, wait 20 seconds, and it's ready to sand. If you want to try it out, I'll have a link in the description. Now for the juice groove, I'm going to go with a 1/2 inch ball nose bit. 3/4 or 1/2 inch are both pretty common. It's just a matter of preference. You'll want to make multiple passes when doing this. It'll reduce your burn marks inside of your groove. And this is just a jig I made out of 3/4 plywood specifically for doing juice grooves. If you're interested in seeing how I made this, just leave a comment down below and I'll try to make a video on it. For the handles, I use a 1/2 inch flute bit, also making multiple passes to make sure I don't burn it. You can make your edges nice and smooth by using a 1/4 inch roundover bit. Now I skipped videoing myself during the whole sanding process because, let's be honest, who wants to see that? But I can tell you, I started at 80 grit and went up to 320 grit, raising the grain between 120 and 220, then again between 220 and 320, letting it dry between sanding. Oh, and don't forget to sand the grooves. The finish on it is just like all my other boards. It's a food grain mineral oil. Since this is end grain, you'll want to let it soak for about 30 minutes. And finally, we're going to put some non-slip rubber feet on this thing. This is another little jig I made that helps center the feet on each corner. And voila, you now have an end grain board. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.